It was 2 or 3 years ago, but Sarah still feels scared when she thinks about it. The town that shouldn't exist, a glitch in the matrix. Sarah was in her car with her mother, heading home from a museum they'd been to several times before. So obviously the road they took should have been familiar. But maybe 20 minutes into the drive, they both realized they were completely lost on some back road neither of them had ever seen before. They pulled up Google Maps to get back on the road, and it started navigating them. Maybe another 10 minutes, and the road had become a narrow dirt path into the woods. But Google Maps was still saying this was the way to go. So they followed the tracker. All of a sudden, this very narrow dirt path opened up into a brand new paved road. The woods opened up into a massive field. And Sarah and her mother were right in the middle of a shiny new suburban area. There was a sign on the side of the road, but now it was completely blank. The GPS told them to drive through the suburb, so they did. And it was empty. No cars, no people. It was daytime, but there wasn't a single light on in any window, which felt odd. Everything looked brand new, but there was no construction or road equipment anywhere. And there were no stores, gas stations, or anything, except for what looked like a McDonald's, but with no branding. Sarah and her mother kept going for 10 more minutes, and suddenly the road turned from paved back into dirt again and went right back into the woods. And maybe 5 minutes later, Sarah and her mother arrived in a more normal town. Sarah was confused. She thought about it. Maybe it was a testing area, but there were no trespassing signs. The area wasn't fenced off and had no one guarding it. The whole time Sarah felt she just shouldn't be there, that the entire town was wrong. Sarah decided to look at Google Maps, one more check, and the area on Google Maps where she went still showed only woods and a field that she knew would have been visible by satellite was not on the Google Maps. Could the Matrix have glitched while Sarah was on her way? Did she get transported to an empty alternate universe? Have you ever gotten lost, only to find yourself in a place you didn't know existed? Candace may have also experienced a glitch in the Matrix, this time in a parking lot. Candace said her story wasn't scary or exceptionally exciting, but it was definitely one she will never forget. About a month ago, Candace and her mother were in the Walmart parking lot. It was busy, and she'd followed a car down a lane while searching for a spot. There happened to be 2 spots right next to each other towards the back end of the parking lot. The car that Candace and her mother had been following pulled into one of the spots, and Candace, who was right behind the vehicle, pulled into the spot right beside it. However, as soon as Candace parked and looked over at the seat, there was no one in the driver's seat or in the rest of the car. The seat was not reclined. Candace's mother was in the passenger side of the vehicle, and they both stared over for a few seconds, perplexed that the car was empty right after they'd pulled up next to it, no more than a couple seconds after the other vehicle had parked. Candace sat up out of her seat to see if the driver had bent over or something. When Candace and her mother got out of the vehicle, they would have seen someone getting out of the car, but nobody was there. They followed a car into the garage, saw the car park in front of them, and suddenly the people in the car were gone. Candace and her mother shrugged it off and started walking toward the store, when after a few seconds of walking, they realized they'd forgotten their masks. They turned back to get the masks out of the car, when there in the driver's seat of the car next to them was the man they'd followed in. He had disappeared and reappeared. Candace and her mother were both very confused and definitely weirded out. They never stopped forgetting about their unexplainable parking lot experience. Glitch in the matrices can happen all the time. sometimes small, sometimes big. Have you ever experienced strange parking lots?